Hello everyone, welcome to Learning League of Legends. I'm Ginobili, and in this episode we're going to be looking at wards, so site wards, envision wards, oracle elixirs, ruby sightstones, and sightstones, as well as some good laning habits that you should get into, which include wards. So in this case, as you can see, my lane's actually pushing towards the enemy tower. And when you're in a position like this is usually a good time to use a ward. So what I've got here is some wards. There's green wards and pink wards. Pink wards reveal invisible units around them within a radius. It's about that far from the ward. And so they can reveal either other wards, because these wards are actually invisible when you place them. They're actually an invisible site ward, and they last for 3 minutes each. So what this allows me to do if I'm pushing here is it allows me to know if the enemy jungler, or say someone from middle, happens to be trying to come in for a gank on me. Now if I'm really pushed up this far, then I might actually want to put a second ward down in here. This is another good location for a ward, because if I'm pushed all the way up to the tower here, what if he comes through that spot right there? Good places for wards tend to be areas where people walk the most. So constant paths such as through the river areas, paths like this where people tend to walk to and fro. Also, you may want to put them on specific buffs as well. So if I wanted to say know when the jungler was at their red, I could put a ward right here to check that. For defending yourself in the mid lane, if you're actually pushed up like this, near your tower in last hitting, in any lane, so that goes for any lane, if you're back here in the top lane, or in here for the bottom lane, in general you don't really need any wards, because you're so close to your tower that if somebody were to appear, I could actually just run right back to my tower. Now you still have to be careful, especially if people are stronger than you, that they may try to tower dive you, which is where they'll actually just take hits from the tower and dive onto you and go for a kill that way. Usually when they have the numbers advantage, but not always, depending on who it is you're playing, sometimes what champions they're playing, what items they're building, and just the type of player they are. So if you're in mid lane, there's a couple different places that you can ward. A lot of the time if you are farming, a really easy place to ward is right in along this area. But if you have a little bit of extra time, you could actually put a ward either right here or right here where I'm standing, and those would both be just as effective. You'd even get a little bit of extra time before the jungler gets there. But the handy thing about these close wards is that you can just simply move to about right here and drop them down, and then you can go back to farming in your lane. Same thing on this side. It's easiest to drop a ward right in here, but if you get time, since these two lanes are both sides of the map are close to identical, slight differences, you could put a ward here or here. So what I've done here is I built myself a sightstone. Now what a sightstone is it's an item that holds wards that you can place, but as you can see here, it actually refills every time you go back to the shop. As you can see, they last the same amount as a regular green ward, but you can only have 2 of them up at a time. But it does also hold 4 charges. As you can see, this small number right here shows how many you have left. In general, there's only a few characters who are actually build this, like Lee Sin in general builds one of these as part of his kit, because you can use wards to jump around. And other than that, in general, you'll just have, perhaps if you have a full support on your team, they may build one of these. Or if you happen to play a support character, you might pick up one of these, just to save yourself money on gold. Because it's 950 gold for the Sightstone, but every single green ward you get is 75 gold. So there's going to be a certain point, especially when you can just drop these down whenever you want, and then just go back to base to get more for free, that this is going to save you a lot more money in the long run. So just like in top, if you're in bottom and you're pushing far into their lane, these are a couple of good spots to put wards, just to know exactly where they're, if you're going to be ganked. There's one other thing I wanted to talk about while I'm down here, is Dragon as well. So Dragon is, as I told you in the earlier video, gives lots of gold to your whole team. And in general, it's a good idea to at least have it warded so you know if the enemy jungler is going to be trying to do it. So generally, around this time, there's some junglers that can do it earlier. You're going to want to try and keep close to constant vision on the dragon. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be right on the dragon. Like, for instance, I could put a ward here and here, and I can't actually, as you can see on my minimap there, see the actual dragon, but I have all areas into the dragon warded, so I'll know if they're going for it. Once you get to that point, you know, perhaps your mid laner could drop a ward here. The support could, instead of dropping this ward here, maybe drop it somewhere around this area. And it still shows you what you want to see. For people, say if I was an enemy jungler coming in, you would still see him. If the ward was here, you'd still see him coming down out of his jungle. You just wouldn't get the vision of this bush. Because when these things are in the bushes, they actually give you vision. So normally when you're in a bush, you're invisible to the enemy, but if the enemy has a ward that's inside the same bush that you are, it will reveal you to them. The same things that I said about Baron, or about Dragon, could be the same things that you should do around this Baron area. I'll make my way up there. But you want to do the same thing generally closer to the 25 to 30 minute mark, since he is quite a bit more powerful and takes a little bit more coordination and in general the whole team to take down, unless it's really late in the game. But you'll want to see, like right now he doesn't actually spawn until 15 minutes, so he's not something that matters right away. But you want to do the same thing, either have a ward right here to see what's going on, or ward the entrances, such as in this bush or the top bush somewhere around here, just to see if people are trying to take it. Anytime that you're laning, it's a good idea to protect yourself with wards. It's 75 gold for a ward, but for those 3 minutes, if you were to actually die, you could miss an entire minion wave, or possibly even more than that, and that's a lot more gold than just 75 gold. So as has been said before, vision is power. It is very important. There's one last thing that I wanted to talk about. Well, I guess two last things. There is the Ruby Sightstone, which is an upgrade from the regular Sightstone. Now the Ruby Sightstone doesn't drop vision wards. That's what I originally thought it did. It does not. The difference is that it holds 5 charges rather than 4. And rather than only having a maximum of 2 wards, you can have 3 wards active. So in that area around Baron, rather than just having this ward and this ward, you could say have a ward in this area, a ward up by their blue, and still have 1 extra for, you know, anywhere else that you'd want to be. Another good thing you can do is when you're actually going into a bush, if you think the enemy might be there, like say you guys were fighting around Baron, and for some reason you guys don't have any wards in there, you know they're around Baron, and you're coming up from this way, it might be a good idea to just drop a ward into this bush, so their entire team isn't just sitting there, trying to wait for you. Or maybe even come in from this direction. The wards are very useful tools in everyone's hands. In general, the supports will be doing most of the warding, but if you're up in the top lane, or in the mid lane, you can't always count on your support. You shouldn't actually be counting on your support to ward for you. In the later games, generally it's the support who worries about warding the dragon and warding the Baron. But other than that, it's up to you to keep yourself safe. So finally, the last little thing I just wanted to say is, so just like there's vision wards that you can place down, and they're just like a regular ward that reveal invisible units. So as you can see there, they reveal it in the area. There's also an Oracle Elixir that you can get, and this grants your character detection of invisible units. So both of these can be used to clear wards or traps, such as Teemo mushrooms, or Shaco's traps. Or they can also be used for detecting Shaco when he's invisible near you, or Teemo, or Evelynn, or Twitch. It's useful for those sort of things. In most cases, the Oracle Elixirs are very good for clearing out the enemy wards. So if you know for a fact that they have a support that's been warding a lot, and you can see that they maybe have a Sightstone, and maybe they even have a couple wards in their items, you know that they're going to be placing down wards. So because vision is power, if you take the vision away from the enemy, that's almost as good as having the vision there yourself. And if you have both, then you can actually clear their wards and place your own. Anyways, that's about all I wanted to say about laning and wards. I hope everyone enjoyed themselves and learned something new. Have a great day. Bye-bye.